Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another week, another episode of Analogue Television, another international episode, as we are joined in a moment by two wonderful people from Austria. The other exciting thing about tonight is that Graham's not here. And actually, jokes aside, he's been absolutely fantastic, but he has pointed out that 2 or 3 evenings a week podcasting for Sunny 16 and doing this on top was starting to become difficult. Good news is, though, we have got a fantastic co-captain stepping in. Ribsy the Ribsinator, as it is full name, is joining us, Eric. So let's bring everyone in for a wonderful evening. Hello, everyone. Hello, Eric. Welcome back. And then Michael and Hanna from Revolog. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone good. Yeah.
We've got lots of people joining already. Gemma Rochester, really looking forward to tonight's chat, which is, setting expectations high. Before we do anything else, I just want to raise a glass to 10-year birthday of Revolog.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So I think you're having a month-long birthday festival party celebration.
Something like that.
How does it feel? 10 years is a long time in any business, in any industry. In the analog photography industry of the last 10 years, that is epic.
It passed by like it was yesterday, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, when we started out, we didn't expect to last 10 years, to tell you the truth. We were hoping for it, but
nobody thought, actually.
Nobody thought that it.
Especially our teachers didn't say.
No, teachers didn't think that. I mean, even I really have to admit, because we started out as a diploma project. We both met at photography school in Vienna. And
this kind of retreat, or how you call it?
It was like this week where you had to meet the other classes, like the graphic design students and stuff like that. And to finish school, you need to have a diploma project. And usually it's like someone from having a company from external, I don't know, needing a website done and needing photography done or something like that. And we both agreed that we just find that it's a bit cheap, for companies getting cheap labor to getting their stuff redone. And we're like, we really don't want to do that. And then Michael had this idea, which you should explain what you wanted to do.
Actually, I represented it in front of over 100 other people. And the loudest laughing was she.
He was standing there in front of everyone. He was like, I mean,
there was also a lot of drinking going on.
Yeah,
you can imagine.
Everyone was drunk, and he was standing there and said, we could bury the film or something. And I was back there, and it was he's crazy.
He's crazy. That will never work. I will never join that business.
Yeah, and then basically I was always interested in analog photography, and Michael didn't have a partner yet, and I was like, okay, yeah, well, and he showed me that was it. He showed me a few effects that he had done by himself, and I was like, okay.
Then she was in.
I was like, okay, that's cool.
Well, let me just actually, just in case, I know a lot of people on here will know exactly what Revolog is. It's worth just very quickly. I'm going to jump to the screen share. This is from Flickr. This is Revolog films on Flickr, and you can see exactly. So there are several different effects you can see on the films: Cosmos, Snowvlog, Plexus, Rasp, etc. So these are analog films that have effects, that have tints, that have things that are superimposed on the results without the ability to control it in advance. Is that fair? Is that a good summary?
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yes. Perfect summary.
It's almost like I sell it. So it's worth when you say 10 years in analog photography, it's worth just reminding ourselves what the world looked like in 2010, because not only did we have DSLRs at the peak of the peak of the peak, it was a global recession recently coming out of. So you chose an industry that was dead in a time in the economy when it was difficult to get anything started, and said this is the future.
To be honest, I don't think there was so much thinking in it.
I think if we had overthought it, I don't know if we had but I mean, like we were lucky in a few things. Like we had this, because with the diploma project, we had like 1 year in school where we could work on what we're doing. So we didn't have any like economical pressure going on, and we were like, for the first 4 years of the existing of the company, we were working in a small room in my flat. So that was not like, we didn't have like high costs involved. And like when we started out, we got like the cheapest film from the drugstore, which fun fact, like the drugstore chain, it's gone.
We outlived it.
You outlived the drugstore you bought. That's a great story, yeah.
But like we could experiment, and while we experimented, we had like in our class, we had like a lot of people who came up to us and said like, that's really cool, that's exciting.
And they tested it.
Yeah, they tested it with us. We had a super team of graphic designers like Elena and Christiana. They were awesome. And we were lucky because in 2010, Facebook was still so new that the algorithms were not like they are now. Like we had only 300 followers, but they got every post that we posted. So when
what a world! What a world!
Yeah, crazy. We didn't have to pay for it. Like, so like basically 10 years and 1 day ago, we had the kickoff party, right?
Yeah.
So, and when we put the website online, which was today for 10 years ago, I think, we had already had like at midnight, we had orders, and it was like, what?
Why do they know?
And so that kind of like we always were lucky in a way that we just like
that it went on and on. I mean, there were times like when there was nothing happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell the story when Hanna had her birthday.
Oh yeah, that's actually funny because like, yeah, so we had the web shop, and then we had a few orders, and that was in June. So, and then like there was about a month or something when nothing happened. And my birthday is in the beginning of August. So I went to bed the night before my birthday, and I was like, okay, I wish for my birthday to really like that we can get an order in again. And I got my emails in the morning, and I was like, okay, there really is an order, and it's from Tahiti. What the fuck? And also we fun fact, maybe he's watching, I don't know, hi Bryce. We got in contact with him again, and we was like, okay, so I don't know, it's 10 years ago, maybe this email address won't work anymore.
Maybe it's awkward too.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't
like an old friend. You're like, hey.
But he did remember us and send us pictures, so that was really nice. And yeah, I mean, like it's gradually. I always had like it's.
I mean, a lot of still shot film. This was a big boost also.
Yeah, do you know that blog?
The which one, sorry?
It was a Tumblr blog, and it was called "I Still Shoot Film."
Quite popular.
What was her name? Rachel.
Rachel, yeah.
I don't know her. I don't remember her last name.
Is it still going?
I don't think so.
Think
but she was an American woman that lived in Paris and did fashion photography, basically. And we were having this arrangement that we sent her a film, and she took pictures with it and promoted it in her blog. And it was one of the biggest blogs past then. It was really cool.
And this really gave us
a
push.
Boost. Yeah. So
that's interesting because when I was thinking about this beforehand, I was thinking it must be interesting going back 10 years of analog photography and maybe the trends. But you're right, even from a marketing and a business point of view, Facebook, you could send posts and people see them. Crazy. A blog on Tumblr.
Tumblr. I mean, Tumblr is dead now, but Tumblr was really big then. That was that's TikTok back then, basically. We were lucky, and it also like what really was great that like our growth was not like going on too fast, because I don't think that we could have, like if we had like orders coming in the thousands in the beginning, we wouldn't have been able to fulfill them. I remember that in the beginning we had to postpone orders that came in from
like
retailers.
Orders for 50 films. Or
yeah, it was like
something
really
that.
small batches. And like, we can do this. Like we have like.
And did you start with? So you have a whole range of films now, and a couple of limited editions. Did you start with like 1, 2, 3, or did you start with here's a load?
No, we started with 8.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, which we developed in this year in school for this diploma project, and it was the plan to get more films out. And yeah, that's now we have 13 with the black and white, but there's no vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
And this was over the years, like, okay, I have an idea, let's try it. It's not working. It's more often than it's working.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's slowly, like Hanna said, everything was going very slowly. So, and we didn't push it too hard because we were ready, I think, for getting that big and fast push. Because
yeah, and that's actually what we like about it. It's like instead of like kind of, I don't know. I mean, we are still good friends, and we were talking about it today actually, that that the relationship that we have when working together is really awesome. I mean, of course, sometimes there's struggles, and sometimes I'm like being bitchy. And he's as well. It's not like only me. Like we have our days. We have our days. But we usually we have a good like basis to talk it over, and there's a lot of trust going on, and that's something that's I don't think that I could do it with someone else. Like
that's
and yeah, I mean, for example, I love my boyfriend really, but working together with him wouldn't be something that I could do.
Well, my wife's in the live chat, so I can't make any comments right now, or I will get a lot of live feedback. So Ribsy, 10 years ago, photography-wise, what were you doing?
That's literally what I've been thinking about the entire time they've been describing their journey. 10 years ago, I wasn't even into photography. I was just in my last year of university, and what was I thinking? To be fair to me, I was in the video world. I used to work in I was a production assistant, basically doing like TV shows, stuff like that. But production assistant does not mean doing anything creative. It means, picking up like garbage and whatever else.
creatively picking up garbage.
Yeah, but yeah, it's astonishing to hear that like there is like 10 years ago. A smaller like shop was around and has been around since doing stuff. In my like naive perspective, I would assume 10 years ago only like the giants were around 10 years ago, and you've been around since before the resurgence, this massive like renaissance that film has had. So very impressive. Really good to hear that there's so much stuff happening.
No, it's I was just thinking the same thing. I think it was 10 years ago. I think I was going through playing around with the DSLR and Polaroid still, but it was the Impossible Project time when there was still some cheap Polaroid on eBay, but Impossible had just come out, and one shot in 10 might work, and it was a very different situation from today. No, that's amazing. So yeah, I think so. You guys work together and have done throughout the whole thing. How do you split the responsibilities then? Do you have a sales and marketing and finance, or is it fluid?
Oh, actually, like every decision is made together.
Yes.
But Hanna has more the social media part because I'm not that social media guy. And Hanna started it. She isn't either, but she started it. So it sticks to her.
We had like this talk, like if we like have employees once, the first that we get is someone like doing marketing and social media, because it's just like I PR and marketing is my own personal hell. I really have to admit it. I love, like getting in touch with customers. I love writing emails. I love everything like that. But like the PR part and this whole selling thing, it's kind of, it's training.
That's the first employer they ever got.
If we ever got one, yeah. So.
And what's your favorite and least favorite social platform? Or do you hate them all? You hate them all?
No, I really have to say I don't like Facebook. It's just it's horrible. It's
I
really
think
horrible.
it's not that what it used to be.
It's
And
so it
because
used
of
to
this,
be,
it's
and,
like
and anyways, but like truth be told, I guess they're all bad in a way. I mean, like we were thinking about like doing kind of like an instant story filter or whatever thing. And I was watching tutorials, and then they were like, yeah, it's like really cool. You can just download this software. It's from Facebook. It's for free. And I was like, I'd rather pay like €100 for a software than just give them all my data again. It's like, it really annoys me. And maybe that's also kind of why we are in analog photography a little bit.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
Not that like I'm scared that someone could watch my pictures and steal my pictures. They're all digitalized too, but it's kind of like this.
It's the feel, isn't it? We haven't grown up with social media because that's the point. I'm not into it that much, I think, and that's why I use it too. But it's not like that. I'm sitting in front of it the whole day.
Yeah.
Maybe this comes. Also with the photography stuff, with analog photography is something that you can hold in your hands, and like seeing people for real is like way more my favorite.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was in the office yesterday, and I spent the whole day in front of a computer doing various things. Like, and you come out at the end of the day, you're like, this is the furthest thing from analog photography. It's all been about film, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's interesting because I think as a photographic community, I think Instagram appeals to a lot of us, but that's owned by Facebook, and it's getting worse, in my view, every month as they make it more like Facebook and this. But it's why things like Flickr, and we were saying before we went live, like you guys have a really good, well curated Flickr album, and it's something that I always there we go, yeah.
Again. Been a couple of years back, yeah. I just remember, by the way, I remember the name of the Tumblr blog woman. She is called Rach Revival.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that name, so maybe it was before my time. Or
It's really big, like in 2011 or something, and then it just gradually declined. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! And then, so with your so if what about you, Michael? What's your if doing the social media is probably one of the worst parts of Hanna's job, what's your personal hell within the business?
Good question. I don't know actually. It's like maybe it's like sticking to some parts or some developing parts where Hanna says, "Oh no, forget it. It doesn't work." It's like, okay, let's try it again. Let's try it again. Let's try it.
So you guys develop and make all the films on that site? So you're actually in the Revolog offices, aren't you, right now?
Yeah.
I assume so, but maybe you brand your own houses with the Revolog brand. I don't know.
Everything at home is branded.
You have little jam jars just in your kitchen.
Yes.
So you do that all from where you are at the moment, or do you have a separate manufacturing site?
No, everything from here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And we had a lot of questions coming in about this. As I said to you, don't give away any of your trade secrets, but are you able to give us a little taste of how you create a Revolog film from its start to its end?
Actually, there is a movie online on YouTube.
So never mind the trade secrets, we can just YouTube it. Okay.
It's called How to Create Revolog Films. Check it out. It's totally
That's
serious.
absolutely realistic how it's done. No, the video is really cool. A friend of ours made it, and it's Florian Tama, and he is amazing. And this video is really cool. So you should check it out, even though it might not give you the right idea.
I might have a quick look when we're doing the top secret quiz in a minute. I might just see if I can find it, pull it in. But
I'm curious though. On the website, I noticed it said handcrafted, or I don't know exactly what word you use, but that really struck me because I assume with the scale and all of that of like the bigger companies, like there's very few hands touching any film.
Yeah.
Curious, what does that mean to you? And again, it doesn't have to be very specific, like in terms of the trade secret, but more about like how does that factor into the process?
Yeah, we are not producing film like Kodak or Fuji is doing it. That's crazy. So we're buying film and we're going in the darkroom, putting every film out of the canister, putting
Labels on.
the labels on, and in the darkroom we're applying the effect, and then it's rolling back, and that's what we understand under handcrafted.
Yeah.
So, but we're not doing the crazy chemical.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's the wording is, it was kind of because we had in the beginning, we had, sometimes it's just stated something like that we produce film, and then it was kind of like people were like, like how it is on the internet, people like, they don't produce film, it's just yeah, okay, so what kind of word do we use? And then we decided we go for handcrafted. And so we are having a lot of rolls of film in our hands, like years, and yeah, I don't know. I think I like the mixture of our work, because some of it is really creative, like when we try to find new effects and try to, experiment. And the other part is like very like repetitive. We're like in the darkroom, and it's like one roll after the other, and
we're hearing a lot of podcasts.
Yes, we're listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, because that's also a question that always pops up. Is it really pitch dark in your darkroom? We're like, yes, there is no red light. Also sensitive on red light. So yes, we are. Nevertheless,
I cannot concentrate on the podcast for more than 10 minutes because it's anywhere.
I like the way you said, by the way, Michael. You were like, we don't create our own film. I mean, that would be crazy. I mean, and then I go to something like Tesla, and there's lightning sparks coming through a film. That's not crazy at all. That's the guys who make it. They're the crazy ones. Yeah.
That's interesting, though. It's like clearly you're doing a lot of manual work, which is something to appreciate in this day and age we live in. But you're doing every single bit of it in the dark, or not every single part, but a big chunk of it in the dark. That's a twist that I don't think most people have to deal with in their day to day.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. 'Cause I mean, I think when you said there the mix, I do feel that, because again, I'm lucky it's a different business, but at least I do pack boxes. I do have to do the manual sort of dispatch stuff, and that's really nice because it's a break from sitting at a desk. You get to look at all the films, you see what people are buying. You sometimes get nice comments from customers, but at least I don't have to turn all the lights off.
To tell you the truth, it sometimes can be really like a kind of meditation.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. It's
how long do you think you could do pitch black before you have to just like see something? Can you do like 8 hours straight?
We've done 8 hours straight, basically. I mean, like with a quick pause for going to the loo or something, but. We've been there,
but then it feels kind of weird to coming back to reality.
Yeah, because it's also the strange thing. I mean, like, especially if it's winter time, like when it gets really dark soon, it's like we work in the dark room, and then we come outside of the dark room, and it's already all daylight gone. It's like, oh no. I think that's.
But in summer, it's even harder because the sun is shining and it's awesome outside. Okay, let's head in the dark. Yeah.
Like at the sign that summer is coming when we come out of the dark room, and it's not yet dark. We know, oh yes, summer is coming. We know it.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's interesting. You're right. You must look. Yeah, a rainy day. You're like, that's okay. I can be inside and dark.
Absolutely.
And had a couple of questions come in as we talked, actually. So Marina has asked about your favorite Revolog film. So yeah, do you guys have a personal favorite? Either one that you really like to shoot, or just one that you're really proud of? You're like, maybe it took a load of time to create that effect. Are there any that really stick out?
Do you want to answer first?
I know your answer, so yeah, I have a favorite one. So I like the color and the 600 the most. So that's actually like actually when I'm on vacation, I'm taking on a longer vacation, I'm taking a lot of films with me, so nearly every film. But if we're going to shorter vacations, I just pick these two.
So I've just pulled up actually the flicker of color. So this is the one that has sort of the full frame tints, different shades, greens, red, blues. Yeah, I mean, some of the ones, the one I think that's my favorite one is the one of the dog that's looking up, I think is shot in color. I've seen before, but I mean, sometimes these ones are just absolutely stunning. And the other one was the 600, was it?
Yeah, the 600 is also one of yours.
Yeah, it's also one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
For me, the question is really hard to answer, and then it's like when Michael says, "I know your answer," because I was saying like it's like choosing between your children. It's they all have different qualities, and that being said, the latest baby, which is Cosmos, which is already 2 years old, but I really like the Cosmos effect at the moment.
That one was hard, though.
And that one was hard. I think we
That
tried,
was one of these films where it was like, okay, again
It
and
won't
again
work.
and again, and it didn't work. Like,
Because with Cosmos, again, I pulled it up. It's like almost a shooting star effect, isn't it? And when you were working on it, was it a case of like getting the balance right so it's not overwhelming versus disappearing? What was the tricky thing with getting it right?
thing is, like, we had a vision how it should look, and it looked in parts of it, but then it looked totally different, and so we had to go over it again and again and again.
and we're like, why doesn't it work like all the time? This is the strange thing, because sometimes you just do something and you think, yeah, well, that's perfect, and then you do it another time. It's like, why doesn't it work? Baking pies or something. Sometimes it just works out perfectly, and it's like
actually like the stick. It's like, you know, a fun name.
It was
a friend of Hanna, her boyfriend. He called it the Stigmata film.
It was the first one of the first films we had
back in school, and we just made a hole into the canister.
Yes.
And the first two looked awesome.
Yeah, really amazing.
We loved it, and we never got it again.
Never, ever.
Tried it. I was like,
and it was also like when we were thinking about, okay, so how do we, like, people would realize if they pull off the label that there is a hole in the canister, so it's really easy to do that. So if anyone wants to try Stigmata film, you can go ahead.
So what do you do? So you take a roll. Let's. I mean, I've got one. Must have one here. Here we go. So you take a roll of film. Oh, look! This wasn't planned, but this is a double film that's literally on my desk at home. We'll come on to that question in a minute. So you make a hole in the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just shoot it?
Yeah,
no,
we put it in the sun,
I think we or a windowsill
for a week or something. So it wouldn't work out, never, because we had to put it in the sun for a week.
Yeah.
We're not thinking practically here about like mass production. It was just like, what can we do?
No, that's a really cool idea, though. I mean, I've heard of like, you know, film souping, and there's lots of things people do to mess around. This is I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna find a film and stick a hole in it.
Yes, please.
But we all know it's total luck. It probably won't work.
Or like, or maybe it's the best film ever. I mean, like the first results were awesome.
They were awesome, yeah.
If you were to recommend one film to a brand new person who's never heard of Revolog, what would be the one they should buy to start?
Good question.
It's hard because people are shooting different. So.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the thing. Like,
definitely not an easy question, but that's why I asked it.
Really, I would really go with the Cosmos or the Revolog stand because it's so significant. Like it adds like a really poppy touch. I really like color in 600 for 60 nm, but that's like more of a filter style. That's like, yeah.
And it also depends. That's often when customers come in here, we ask, do you want to shoot portrait? Then maybe not Volvox, because I mean, you have the dot in front of the eye or something.
And
like
so it
this.
could look cool.
It look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just putting up actually your Flickr of Volvox, and there are a couple of portraits that are really, really nice. But I see what you mean. Like, if the green turns up directly over the pupil, then it's going to be, it's going to be a write-off. But
it's like maybe you're in luck or not. It's just like total coincidence where it's gonna land. So that's the fun, but it's also the annoying part. We had a customer come in today, and he was saying that he really loved the Plexus film. But he was shooting another person, and she was kind of disappointed that there was this effect on it. And he was like, like when he was shooting, he was like, maybe it would have been nice without it, an effect. But that's the thing. He likes it, and
exactly, you can't take it off. It's a real life filter. That's wonderful. Okay, then there's more questions coming in, and we've got some more lined up. But we're half an hour in. It is time for the quiz. Ribsy, this is his first time. Oh, what's he got? He's got a jacket.
Uh-oh.
Is it a dinner jacket? It's some kind of quiz master. So we've had the velvet jacket of Graham. We've got Marina's lovely shirts. Oh, a blue hoodie. A quizmaster's hoodie.
I'm going for the wizard look. Do I look like a wizard? Maybe.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Gandalf the Blue. Okay, I'm going to disappear from the screen to leave you guys happily to it. And Ribsy, take us away. How well do they know Revolog?
All right. Well, I hope these questions are very difficult. I really want to challenge you. We'll see. All right. The first question I have here is, how many color films does Revolog make? The first option is 8. Second option is 10. Or the third option is 12. What is the right answer?
That's easy.
That's easy. It's 12.
Yeah.
With the but that we also make double film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good caveat. You are correct. Of course you are correct. All right. So that's the first question. So 1 for 1. The second question is, how long has it been since the Revolog and Double Films partnership? A, 8 months. B, 1.5 years. Or C, 1 year?
1.5.
1.5 is it
Yeah,
February?
1.5,
Yeah. Yes, I would go for
Yes,
1.5.
All right. Well, I feel like I have to take your word for it, but I thought the answer was 1 year.
We'll give them a point.
Yeah.
I mean, like the official start was in February 2019.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've been like, that was the launch, so
Sure.
we had no contact with Adam before, so
It's more than 1 year.
yeah, it's hard to grade.
Fantastic. Well, like you said, you get the point. So you're 2 for 2 now. Maybe this is where it all goes downhill, or maybe you'll go perfect 5 for 5. We'll see. Great. So the third question is, what is Analogue Wonderland's best-selling Revolog film stock? Is it A, Tesla, B, bubblegum, or C, color? And I realize bubblegum might make things a bit tricky, but nonetheless, those 3 options.
Okay.
Curious which one you think is the one.
Bubblegum? I'd say it's bubblegum, yeah.
Yeah.
There might be another asterisk on this question.
Yes, there definitely is.
So the answer that we were going to go with was color, but I think the question here was, what was I counting in these options for Revolog film? So I shouldn't have included bubblegum in there.
If it's only Revolog films, it's color, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll give them a point because that was an unfair question.
Thank you.
My first time being the quiz master. I'm sweating right now because, you know.
Go back.
Anyway, 3 for 3, so fantastic. The fourth question. I think this is a good one. This is my personal favorite. June 19th, 2014 is the anniversary of what important Revolog event? And I can give you some options, but I feel like you have an idea, so maybe I won't give you options.
No options. They're doing too well.
14?
June 19th. So technically tomorrow.
It must be. Because
Well,
that's
maybe
the year.
it's, no, maybe that was, okay, so
Right.
let's go with the shop.
I think it's the shop that we got the shop.
That might be true. I don't know. But the answer that I had was that is the date of your first Instagram post on the Revolog account.
Really? But that could coincidence because we started Instagram. Wow, yeah, but that's a hard question. It's really a hard question.
What for a bonus point? I'm just throwing this in, Ribsy. Sorry. Bonus
Okay.
point. What was the very first Instagram post?
What was the very first?
I don't know this, by the way. Ribsy's the one who's looked at it.
I think it might be of our lamp being installed or something like that. I think it was something from.
I don't know. You're doing this.
I really think I started like, no, maybe people want to know like the background of Revolog, and we got the shop, and I think it was like when we started up. Yeah, I think it was the lamp being installed. I could be wrong.
I forget what was on the image, but I think it was about what it was basically you saying you were going to be shooting some film like that day or the weekend or something.
Okay.
I think that was the post. I can scroll through it in a bit, but yeah, I
Maybe
think
later.
that was it.
Yeah. Now I'm curious too. I haven't had a look at the first post in ages, and it's probably embarrassing. Now everyone is probably doing this and just going like, oh, what? I know I just doesn't like social media.
Well, 2014. That's a pretty long history of Instagram activity. So it's like a whole other world. Whatever number of years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean the funny thing is that a friend of ours like brought me to Instagram because she was saying, you should go to Instagram. There are so many people posting Revolog pictures, and I was like, but isn't Instagram about like taking pictures of food with your, cell phone? And she was like, no, people are uploading stuff. And I was like, okay. And then I had a search, and there were really people sharing Revolog pictures, and I was like, okay, I have to go to Instagram now. So it's using TikTok in like half a year.
But we have a social media man.
Or woman.
Yeah.
You have to come up with a Revolog dance. I think that's the way to get like a lot of views nowadays.
Very good. Yeah.
All right, so I don't know. I guess you didn't get that question correct. However, it might be the day you opened your shop. I don't know.
No.
It was this year and it wasn't summer.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, fair enough.
yes. Yeah.
All right, so
No
the
point
last
for
the last question we have here is, which film is Solar Can Sam most proud of shooting and why? Is it A, Tesla's, B, Cosmos, or C, Solar?
Go for solar. It's just because of the name.
Yeah.
That's what. Hi to Sam, by the way. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, let's go with solar.
I would go with solar because
because
good
it
name.
fits.
Well, the correct answer is A, Tesla.
Really?
And I believe legend has it that he shot this film while driving in a Tesla car.
That's
Okay.
yeah. That's even okay. So the name, that's awesome. He should send us the pictures, please.
He is actually watching along. He joined just before the quiz started, so there we go.
Awesome. Well, I give you a 3 out of 5 with a couple of asterisks on there, maybe going in your favor.
No, that's perfect. All right, then. Let me just pull people back in. And then I've got to do the thing where I hide my second face with a Revolog. Oh, right then. Seamless. Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ribsy. Well done. Excellent quiz mastering. I loved the addition of like double films thrown in there just to put them off.
Yeah.
That was really clever. I like it. Sam says, Tesla in a Tesla. The year was 2013.
That's a long time ago, too.
Yeah, that's a long time ago for Tesla cars to be a thing. Do we believe this story at all? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a good story. Meanwhile, by the way, while you guys were doing this, I found the video how to make Revolog films on YouTube. So again, this is live, so I don't know how well I'm going to get the audio and video right, but I'm going to try and move to a screen share of YouTube and play the video for everyone. I think it's a couple of minutes long, and it is exactly, I did a quick read through. It looks very technically accurate. I think it shows a lot of the machinery you use.
And no animals harmed. We have to say that there are no animals harmed in the process.
That is a good thing to say before any video. Okay then. All right, is everyone ready to learn the secrets of Revolog film? Okay, let's see if this works well. Oh my god, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Where are you sourcing your unicorns from? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And also, there were no dark rooms in there at all. You guys have lied. You don't spend 8 hours in a dark room. You go and catch lightning unicorns. That is absolutely incredible. So you have a unicorn, a cat, like Empire State Building, rainbowy mountains. Yeah, that's just how you make film these days. It's just basics.
Yes.
We figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. If anyone wants to copy Revolog, all they need, I mean, finding the lightning unicorn feels to be like the first problem. I mean, I'd start there. That feels like the most difficult thing. The cat, easy. Wowzers. Okay then. So, Sam's here we go. That was amazing. Can he pay you guys to make him a Solar Clan advert?
Not us. When he would have to pay Florian, who made the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's actually, that video is like from 2014, and Florian, I can send you the contact. He's a great visual artist now. He's in London actually. Based in London and doing incredible stuff. Yeah, you can contact him, and I cannot speak for him, but maybe.
No. We'll say. Michael and Hanna said you can work with lightning unicorns for us, and if we all email him that, then he'll definitely be able to help. Okay, then. So a few more questions that have come in. Oh, actually, no. Ribsy, have you got anything else that you had?
Yeah. I've got a couple.
Jump in with a couple of questions, yeah, so people don't.
These are not like gotcha questions for the quiz. This is going to be more just conversational. But I am really curious. I think given that you're part of this like ecosystem of film development, whether you're creating it from the very beginning or perhaps altering after the fact, I'm curious to hear about like sustainability in this general world. I'm just curious where the conversation is, whether it's at your level or what you're hearing from like manufacturers. How are people thinking about the fact that film is it's a plastic and chemicals kind of equation? What's happening in that thinking?
Very good question. Yeah. Do you want to answer or?
I have to think about it.
Like for me, I mean, that's a question we talk to ourselves, or think about it all the time, because it's, of course, it's a chemically intensive operation, because in the production, it's using resources that are hard to get, like silver and stuff like that. It's also like, the films are produced in basically a few areas of the world, and then they get shipped all over the world, and then we make the films and then we ship it all over again. So that's also a problematic issue.
And the chemicals to develop.
Yeah, of course, you could say it's not a very sustainable approach to photography. On the other hand, what I do think is that analog photography makes you shoot less, which is in a way good, because you're focused on what you want to shoot, and you take less pictures. I don't think you shoot less, but you take less pictures. And I mean, we don't have to underestimate the cost that hardware and storage.
That's what
and
I was thinking about right now.
It's like the amount of pictures that are taken digitally are also not very sustainable, because like with server farms and whatever, and cloud storage is also something that is not very environmentally healthy. So,
I'm totally not sure about. I mean, we all know that it's not environment friendly thing doing this film stuff.
Analog photography. Yeah.
Analog photography.
Yeah.
But and that's totally out of the blue. I don't know if there's some studies about this, like how much resources it takes to build a digital camera and stuff like this. And like Hanna said, to have all this web hosting going on and all these server farms. So I don't know if you compare it, what's the outcome, but would be interesting for sure.
No, I think that's totally fair. I mean, it's not putting you guys on the hop, because we're all part of it. We're based, our favorite hobby is based on plastic and chemicals. You are right though. Like, thinking digital cameras are an environmental win. I'm definitely not there. Even mobile phones. But then it's like trying to minimize the impact. I think it's interesting because we were talking just before, Ribsy, about street candy. I don't know whether you've seen street candies like cardboard canisters. So it's things like that, you know. Have you guys looked into things like that where it's just reducing the amount of plastic, or is it just too expensive or too difficult?
It's not. It's actually we tried to get like film without canisters and stuff like this, but we don't. It's not possible.
It's really hard for us to like talk to like.
To get it like bulk, it's like that's another big issue with making all the canisters by yourself. It's actually then it would be plastic, which is I think worse than the metal ones, and actually it's not recycling what we do, but we use these plastic canisters which the films are in anyway and just label it and putting a paper sticker around it. So it wouldn't make sense to us to throw them away and making a paper stuff like. And actually I don't know how to get that much film without canisters and all
yeah, because it's interesting because when we spoke to Lomography on this show a few weeks ago, they were talking about this because they, in some of their films, they're doing these pop-apart canisters.
I've used them already with the Metropolis film.
Yeah, but they were saying one of their problems at the moment is labs don't understand that. They don't understand you have to take the label off, so they end up breaking them, which is then even worse because then you're not even using. It's not even reusable. It's.
I get really bad feedbacks from the lab because the problem is probably with the communication because. I was wondering because it didn't put like there was a label in there telling me that they're trying out like these canisters, but there was no instructions for the lab. So I brought the film to the lab and the feedback was kind of, I mean, it's a professional lab. It's not like your drugstore. And they were like, yeah, we've got this coming in and they're really problematic to use. So I guess, I mean, I really don't know. I can't speak for Lomography if they have sent out information to the labs, but that would be a lot of work. It would be easier to like put something into the box for the customer, like an information sheet to give to the lab. I don't know, but the feedback was kind of like bad. Even though I think the idea is really great.
Yeah,
actually, I think it's a wonderful idea because so I really fingers crossed for them that they can get the ball rolling. I mean, they're doing a lot for analog photography.
Where do you think, Ribsy? Where do you come from on the environmental impact? Is this something that's close to your heart, and how do you square it with?
Yeah, it's nice to hear the different perspectives and kind of like the ideas that are happening. I personally just think about how much like waste I end up with at the end of the day, whether it's like the plastic containers. I mean, the film canisters, when you talk about breaking them apart, you should see the massacre that I have in my bathroom right now. Just like, it's like a dinosaur went in there and just like tore up film canisters left and right. And even cardboard boxes, you know, it's kind of the whole nine. So I think about this with regards to other parts of life, and I feel like one of the most visible ones that almost feels like unnecessary is my consumption of like film products. So it's always I'm always curious to hear, especially like at like the manufacturer level. I think that's where a lot of the significant like changes could be made, if at all. So yeah, I'm always curious what is coming from kind of top down in terms of that topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really necessarily, I don't know anything that we've talked about through the business side, but I do know that people are still looking at it, and there are ways of doing it. You know, actually, even today, I had someone on Instagram, Sarah Smith. I don't think he's in the comments, but she often dials in, asking about disposing of chemicals and thinking about that. And I think the more people who think about it, there'll be a market that evolves. And some developers are less, well, not developers, but some fixers and some ways of dealing with things are less chemically active than others.
Isn't that environmental stuff wasn't that a big problem for Impossible Project? That this chemicals element also for Ferrania. I think they had the problems with the regulations, which is great actually.
Yeah.
But Impossible worked, and I think Ferrania is working too.
Yeah, so, a lot of if you talk to Kodak, and Ilford as well actually have both been quite open about one of the challenges they have is when people say to them, what films are coming out, what films are you bringing out next? Not only do some films now, so Kodachrome wouldn't be allowed now because the film and the developing materials would be illegal under current regulations. But even the current emulsions that exist need updating every year because as regulations tighten. So Ilford's FP4 today isn't the same as it was 5-10 years ago. And so much of their R&D work is based on that rather than let's come up with FP6. It's more like, how do we still make our current products with, and as you say, it's a good thing, right? As the government and as regulations tighten and protect, these companies are putting a huge amount in, but it's not sexy work that leads to a new film.
Yeah.
It's like, we've done all this work and it's still the same film. And you're like, cool. With the same results, yes.
Nobody even recognizes it.
Exactly, yes. We spent years on this. You know, and Ilford say that as well. Like they when they have to do all this to update, it's the same. But it is it is a really interesting one. On a slightly different tack, one question that we sort of alluded to a few times then, your partnership with Double Film. And I have seen that Adam Scott has joined us.
Hello, man.
And there was somebody actually wrote into Instagram with a question saying, how much does it drive you nuts having to work with Double Film? I mean, I've had to work with Double Film and Adam, and it's terrible. So I really feel for you guys. Like,
can you kick him out of the video now?
yeah, well, okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll just go on mute for Adam for a minute, and then you give us the real answer. No. So you guys started working with Adam and Double Film, as we say, 1.5 years ago ish, and you make the films. Like, how's that going? Is it an interesting? Do you work with Adam on the developing and the production side? How much of a partnership do you guys do?
Actually, like we developed the films that we have now together. Like, okay, we have this, and we want this 36, and we want to have the different look a bit and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Especially at the cello side. And now, yeah, we're working together. Always like, okay, we can try this. Then we're sending results.
Yeah.
Adam giving us some input on his thoughts and ideas on how we can improve or make new films or improve.
And since we're not in the same city, everything is like via email or Skype or phone or text message or something. So
sometimes, like once in a year, we're trying to meet each other and have 100 or 300 beers.
I do remember actually when it must have been about Christmas, around the winter 2 winters ago, and Adam was saying to me, texting me saying, you know, something big is coming with Double Film. We're moving a lot of things. I said, what's going on? And he was teasing me, and then he sent me a photo that was you, Michael, and him, clearly after 300 beers somewhere. And he said, this is all I'm telling you. And I was like, is that Michael? So that must have been one of the times you guys visited. Yeah.
Yes, that was probably the initial meet of.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
We had to postpone our next day meeting a bit.
Yeah, there was lots of headache drugs involved. Like in the morning, like I need some ibuprofen, please. Yeah. No. But it turned out to be a very productive meeting. So because we've been very successful in the cooperation, and it's a lot of fun working with him because he does drive us nuts, but he's a great guy, and he's coming up with a lot of cool ideas. So that's something that helps us like think out of the box sometimes, and that's awesome.
That's because we are always like 8 years with just the two of us.
Yeah.
And it's kind of good, like to have fresh wind. And,
there's an outsider coming in and then just like pulling out fresh ideas and so on. And of course sometimes you have to say like 5 times in a row, no, it won't work. It won't work. It won't work.
But what if? Yeah.
But of course then the other person says, well, we could still try it. And like, okay, we will try it. And then so it's very refreshing, and it's fun and it's cool. We get great feedback. I really love to shoot the Double Film. I think we did a really good. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because I think again, from me having worked with both of you for 2 years, it made total sense when I heard about it, and it's brilliant. I think it's probably interesting for other people to listen because it's like, are you making your competitors' films to compete with yours? But actually sort of Double Films, what the effects you get are very different from Revolog's, right? And that's
actually like, I think everything that comes up in analog photography helps everybody. So I think it's like with all the other brands, it's like no, we're not like enemies and fighting each other, because that wouldn't make sense. I think it's great that there is such a variety and it's growing. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
And that helps analog photography to stay alive.
No.
Yeah.
That is perfect summary. I love it. So the one of the things that I think is interesting for us sat here in the UK, and most of the people I think listening are from based in the UK at least, even if not originally from here, is you guys don't just look over 10 years. You look across sort of, you have contacts in Asia. You've been selling globally for a long time. What trends have you seen across the globe and time over the last 10 years? Because sort of the traditional feeling is, Asia often comes out with like really crazy trends and they love instant and all of this kind of thing. And, America is a bit more traditional than Kodak. How do you see it through the lens of the sort of the creative side?
Do you see any special trends?
I mean, the trend is like more and more people getting back to film shooting. That's definitely.
And do you see that in every part of the world, or is it like you get a lot?
Yes, yeah. Since we started, I mean, we have this very special product, and I think it took some years that it had its place on the market. So, like we said before, the first years were not like easy cash coming in. We both had jobs, and I think that's changing a lot. That people are going back to analog anyway. So which never tried it before, find a camera on the rooftop or on the attic. I mean, what we saw is like the birth of it's like kind of the same year. I think 1 year before us, it was Impossible Project when it started.
It was
how this developed back to, I mean, branded like Polaroid, and how the Instax came up again. It's not came up again. So that's also like this trend was a big trend. This instant film, which has not existed anymore when we started.
Yeah,
like there were.
Polaroid was already dead. There was like expired batches to available, but there was no Polaroid.
So that's Ferrania is coming back. So there's a lot of stuff coming back, which was said dead. So that's I think the trend that I see. That it's coming back again.
Yeah.
And what do you see for the future, like for film photography, but also for Revolog? So do you see? Because one of the things that we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years is medium format seems to be growing a little bit more, as 35mm seems to be the entrance, and I know you're already rolling your eyes. I can see. Revolog 120, that is the dream.
We had a meeting, I think it's like 6 years ago.
It was longer, with Ferrania.
With the guys from Ferrania,
I think it was
talking about exactly this thing.
6 or 7 years ago. The problem with medium format, everyone who has once shot medium format film or developed it knows that it's like totally different than a 35mm capsule. So for us, it's easy to just like take a 35mm film and roll it up in the darkroom and pull it back in. But with medium format, that's impossible. We tried it once.
Yeah.
It took us 20 minutes in the dark to like get it back without making a big roll. And then you still have the problem that you would have to package it right and everything, so it's just not feasible. And we would, if we would start doing medium format film, we would need machinery and we would need bulk film, and that poses certain problems because we tend to sometimes mess up film. That's what happens. But if we mess up one roll or two rolls, it just doesn't matter. But if we mess up a bulk film, it's really a problem. And that was what we were talking about with the Ferrani guys. We were thinking about when they were
we can talk with them again when they're more relaxed and have out all their films. So, but it's definitely on the list. But it's not like okay, let's try it. It's like really difficult to
it's interesting because actually I started asking the question as I did. I saw that Baxter Marison wrote in the comments at exactly the moment, do you have any plans to produce 120? And it is one of the most common questions I get from people who love Revolog, who love double film, who love creative films. It's they'd love to not just use their medium format cameras, but to see those effects in a bigger image to get all the benefits. But I know it's very difficult and very different.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, the thing is, I mean, if we are able to pull it off sometimes, the problem is probably that it's going to be really, really, really expensive. That's the thing. I don't know if people are willing to pay like 25 euros for 12 pictures. I mean, that's probably what we were talking about, like in costs. But
it still stays in the future, and maybe we find a way to make it quick and so that it makes sense.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
not it's not at the cost of $50 something a row. Yeah.
So that's and that I know that's very different. But thank you for going through a question that I'm sure you get a lot. We have had people being very helpful who are saying, would 220 be easier than 120 or 110? APS comes up a lot. Yes, good. No, that's fine. Ribsy, do you have any other questions or thoughts? We're sort of at the hour mark. I think we'll keep going for another 10 or 15 minutes if everyone's okay.
Sure.
And I've still got a few questions, but Ribsy, I think you had a couple of ideas as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about what thing you were very excited for that just didn't work in terms of like one of your potential films. Is there one that you just wanted so bad and you could not get it?
First texture.
The texture looked different the first trials.
Yeah, like the initial texture of film looked different. I was very excited about it, the way it looked.
But I destroyed the old chemistry at the lab, and I mean, it's like 10 years ago, so I think they're fine.
And we are still good customers, but
that was one part that we had to change the texture, and also it was like the film was it was also like taking hours that the film was ready, so we had to change it.
Yeah, it was just not mass market production. So it's like if you do a film soup or something, that's cool. You can do it at home and you can bring it to the lab and tell them we've done film soup, and that's cool. But for mass market production, it's just like unfortunately not possible. What else did we try and did we work out?
I mean, we are constantly working on new stuff, and we have one right now, which is not going to work, but we have results which shows, 2 pictures, great, and the rest is nothing. Why doesn't it?
It's like, so we are really wanting this to work, but we are not sure if it's ever going to work. And we didn't have, like, with the whole situation with not having film. Like, the problem is with experimenting, you need lots of rolls of film to just wait away, and we just didn't have that. So we had to postpone every experimental stuff to I don't know when. So hopefully the situation will now get better, and maybe there's something new in the loop. So
cool.
Fingers crossed. But yeah.
Oh, I'd love it. I think if you can still keep coming up with new ideas and changing things, or you could take Film Washi's approach. Every so often I get packages from Lomig at Film Washi where he's like, "This didn't work at all. Here's 20 rolls. Can you give them away or sell them?" And I'm like, "What does it look like?" And he's like, "I don't know, but it might be like a wave." I'm like, "Sure. Someone will try it. Like, it's fine." I'm not going to charge a lot of money for this, but yeah. We'll, oh no, that's a great question. So you are working on a few new films, new ideas that may not. Okay, very mysterious.
We're trying.
We're trying very hard.
It's really like every film we are testing. It's like, okay, it's one film that we cannot sell or cannot deliver to the people. So it's like very slow testing.
Yes, it's very.
And now it's stopped again. So
But I don't know. As soon as there is something new, we'll definitely let you and everyone else know, like big time.
Yeah.
I'll put my social media hat on then.
You'll force it on, like, oh, damn it. Yeah. No, that's lovely. And again, when you've been there 10 years, again, I'm sure you're used to doing things properly and not getting too excited too early. One question that a couple of people asked was about processing and then scanning the films. And I know, having spoken to Adam quite a lot over, when people get disappointed in bubblegum, it's often because the lab has basically color corrected out the effect. So people were asking a little bit about, can you pull the film, and does that change the effect? Because Lomography talk about that quite a lot with some of their films. And do you have any sort of tips, hints for best practice for developing and scanning? Oh, is this an example?
With every effect, is like if you overexpose it, it gets more subtle. And if you underexpose it, it gets stronger.
It's more intense.
And we had a book, it's like sold out now.
A couple of years ago we did a book, but we are having features on our website and our magazine. We're trying to feature each film where we get in-depth guides. We haven't yet done that for every film, but what we did with the book and what we're doing also on the website is basically we tried crossing the film, so developing it as slide film E6 instead of C41, which, as you can see, can result in very strange effects because the yellow layer that is on the negative will be very strong. But you can color correct it basically with your own software, and it's kind of interesting because it's like it gets this very washed out, tone. And also what we did is we tried like how much can you over and underexpose the films, and I mean color negative, as you know, is very what's the word, like
giving.
Yes, thank you. Like you can really over and underexpose the films like in a very strong way. We wouldn't recommend it for the 460 nm if you see it here. It's very strong. But in any case, we will do like these features of the films on our website. So there is some in-depth guide about that.
With pushing, we haven't tried. We tried pushing, so it's definitely possible to get to make it one stop. Like it gets a bit more grainier, but it's okay. And pulling is also cool for one stop. Actually, we never tried it like crazy. I once tried it with the Ilford HP5. It was like I think 6 stops, and I loved it.
Yeah, but. With the scanning, that's an issue. I mean, we scan ourselves sometimes, and it's with each software that you use, you get a different effect. So basically, we have Silverfast, and then we have the Epson software, and both of them lead to totally different results. And if I want to have like the real raw effect, I just go to the Epson and I just like disable everything, and then I just have this very flawed image. And then I have to put it in Photoshop and just like, set the tone correctors right. And I get the real image, which is...
There's not like for the certain films, I think, that you have this profiles, and the lab has the profile for a Kodak or for Fujifilm or whatever film. So they don't have a Revolog profile and they don't have a double profile, so they cannot color correct it correct.
Yeah.
So actually the bubblegum, which there is often that problem that the lab is going to correct it. The actual color is the pink one, but it's going to be with the white balance. It's a way.
And it really depends on what is, because as far as I understand it, it's like they have like the first picture of the film is the referential picture for the white balance, and that's like very dark or set in a different tone that will set tonality for the whole film. And so it's a bit of a luck. We always tell our customers that if they scan themselves, they should just try the different possibilities that their software are offering them. Or at the lab, they could use a referential picture. They could just like, this is what it should look like, and so the lab can set the white balance that way accordingly.
No, that's a brilliant. So the book that you had there, can people buy that book, or is that for you guys as a reference?
Currently, it's sold out.
We have to make a new edition.
But we want to do another edition, and then it's going to be back online. Yeah,
that would be amazing, because I think that's just exactly, I think, what people are asking for is how do you do it. Ribsy, you do color printing in your bathroom?
Yeah. I was actually thinking that the entire time you were speaking about the scanning. Just curious, any thoughts on what happens when you try to print some of these films?
Well, we haven't tried that, obviously, because I think it's crazy to do that. Why would you do that? It should work. Actually, it should work really well. It should show.
I mean, if you're making the enlargement, you can set the tone anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like setting the white balance in the scanner.
Yeah, setting the white balance in the scanner.
I was thinking. So for the first time, I printed something without ever having scanned it. So it was kind of the full analog process. And I was thinking just now, I tried doing that with one of like the very kind of I don't know how to phrase it, but let's take the film that has the biggest effect and then try to print that like blindly, I would say. Really curious what that experience would look like. I think I might have to try that.
Well, what I'm hearing, Ribsy, is sounds like there's a job for a Revolog print tester. If these guys don't do it, then
we should send you a couple of rules.
Send you a couple of rules. That's the hell out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm definitely very curious to see what that's going to be like. Scanning, I think it's not controversial, but scanning is as much of a choice as anything else is. And I feel like for newbies like me, I consider myself a newbie because I haven't been shooting analog for that long. At a certain time in my kind of experience, I did assume that whatever I got from a lab was just like that was it. But even at the lab, they're making all kinds of decisions before you get your image. So I think it's something everyone should definitely think about and keep in mind.
And actually, Marina, who's If We Film on Instagram, I don't know if you guys follow her. She's fantastic. She also co-captained some of these. She's written in. She actually works in a lab, Photographique in Bristol, for her as another part of her job. And she's just said Revolog films work really well with a Fuji Frontier SP3000 scanner with 0 color correction.
Okay.
Perfect.
So her recommendation is find a lab with that scanner, tell them no color correction, and you'll get it great. I mean, that would be a bonus, is if you go into a lab and someone like Marina's there doing the scanning, you're in safe hands. But no, that is interesting. In the printing, I mean, Ribsy, I saw like on Instagram the other day, you have like the clothes rack in the bathroom where you got the prints dried.
It's a lab. Lab.
It's like our dark room.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. There was a very quick one. So you're in Vienna. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of people messaged me saying, can you ask them if they are taking people as job offers at the moment? So
we just had the same question from the customer who came in. Unfortunately, at the moment not, but as soon as we need someone for social media and marketing.
And I think these people are not watching now. They're all...
Well, if anyone online is watching or watching on catch up who is very good at social media and enjoys it, then that might be the easiest way to get a job with Revolog right now. Ribsy's already taken the print specialist role. So social media intern, I think, is the next one. And that was all the questions that I had, or that the community had sent in. Ribsy, do you have any sort of final thoughts, final questions, anything that hasn't come up?
No, I gotta get my hands on some of the film. That's my next step.
Perfect. And guys, is there anything that you wanted to talk about Revolog, about your practice, about anything in the future that hasn't come up?
I mean, there is coming quite a lot in the next weeks for our anniversary. What we can say now is like, if you're in Vienna on the 14th of August, we're having a party. Mm-hmm. And everyone is invited, obviously.
Well, yeah, we'll put the details on the event like in 2 weeks or something when it's a bit more clear as to when we start and everything. But it's going to be at Donaukanal. Everyone in Vienna knows that.
And also it's worth saying that Austria is slightly further ahead the coronavirus.
Yes.
The idea of us having a party or even meeting another person on the street is still scary. So you guys are doing a cracking job.
We are allowed to have parties and already
Yeah,
again.
it's feeling like back to normal here. So
A little bit, yes.
Well,
come to Austria and party with us on 14th.
we will. Well, hang on a minute. If we go now, we can do the 2 weeks quarantine, and then perfect. All right then. So party in Vienna, and then for people who want to know a bit more detail about how your films interact with exposure, then you've got some blogs on your website.
Yes, we've started that, and we keep continuing that. So there's, I think, 3 or 4 already out, and and you can also always send us messages. I mean, we are always happy to answer questions via email or something, or if someone wants to stop by at the shop, just send us a text message, and we'll be available. And
Oh, that's lovely. Well, hopefully you'll have lots of people asking you questions, lots of people trying out your films. Maybe you hadn't thought of it before. And we'll all message you on social media just to make you feel really happy about That's wonderful. So you have and then for people to purchase, so obviously there are retailers, ourselves included, around the world who sell Revolog. People can buy directly from you as well. That's true. Perfect. And then follow you on Instagram, social, Facebook, Twitter, just to...
I think we also had one question. If somebody who is in Vienna can stop by and have a coffee.
Yes.
So there's not much to look at, but you definitely get a coffee if you stop by.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's true. Someone asked me, do they do tours of their factory? And I thought, yes. Like, you have to wear a hard hat. It takes 4 hours to go around the site. But yeah, sure.
I don't know, but maybe.
Well, I can promise you that whenever I'm allowed to get on a plane, whenever I'm allowed to come to Austria, you guys will be the first place that I visit for a coffee, 1 coffee and 300 beers.
Yes.
And then a very late next day meeting. Well, guys, thank you so much for giving up the time. I know as well you are an hour in advance, so it's later than it is here. We really appreciate it. I also know that you guys said before that you were a little bit worried about doing a full interview in English. I can happily tell you that was not an issue. You guys have been absolutely perfect, absolutely brilliant. A lot of people have been asking questions and commenting and chatting in the comments as well. So thank you to everyone who's engaged there. We will, of course, be back next week for another episode. But for now, thank you so much. Good evening to everyone who watched. Good night, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.